When you hear me talk about our system is not designed to help people, our system is not designed to make the personal economies of people better, to improve their form of living. Many of you think, oh, you crazy person, you just don't believe in capitalism. I believe in free enterprise, a strong private sector, a strong public sector, a strong social safety net to ensure that no one entity can take advantage of the other, to ensure that people can live the lives that they want with the happiness that they have. I mean, you take a look at the happiest countries in the world, they have the type of economic system that is close to what I'm looking for. I want you to listen to this to show you how within our system is designed to keep you down. It's designed to not care about you, and why we have to elect the type of progressives that will go into the system and make changes. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
But Douglas, the Federal Reserve is taking inflation seriously. That's clear, with signals that they are planning as many as 3 rate hikes in 2022, acknowledging inflation is not going to go away in the near term. So what is your economic take on all of this?
Well, the economy is growing quite strongly. We saw the third quarter data revised up this morning, and all indicators on the ground are that we're growing at something like 7% in the fourth quarter. We're going to carry that momentum into next year, 6% say in the first quarter and 4 or 5% for the year. So there's no real problem with growth in the U.S. And certainly from that perspective, there's no real danger of not doing Build Back Better. I mean, that's not something that's really on the merits needed right now. It's a political issue for the president for sure, but that's not something that has to happen. The bigger issue is the supply chains and the inflation. And the reality is that today's theater notwithstanding, you can't manage supply chains from the Oval Office. And the best thing that can be done is to recognize that one person's supply chain problem is another person's labor shortage, and do the things we heard the panel before us talk about in terms of a broader effort, not focused just on vaccines, to combat the coronavirus. That'll solve the supply chain problems. And it'll be up to the Federal Reserve to deal with the inflation, which will continue into next year. It's durable through 2022 for sure, and it will be a combination of getting the liquidity out of the system and raising rates to knock down some of the probably $2.5 trillion worth of fiscal stimulus that households are carrying into next year. So growth is not the problem. Inflation is, and the supply chain is really about the public health policy.
I want to pick up, Doug, on what you said about no real need for BBB as the president tries to revive it, and Schumer's going to try to revive it now. We heard the argument yesterday from the president that the Build Back Better plan would help reduce inflation. Here's a little bit of what he had to say about that yesterday.
All the things in that bill are going to reduce prices and cost for middle class and working class people. It's going to reduce their costs. Well, bring down all those costs across the board, from child care to a child care tax credit.
And there are a number of economists and economic writers who agree with that. There was a Wharton study, I believe, yesterday. What do you make of that argument?
I don't think that's quite right. I mean, certainly the first year of Build Back Better as it came out of the House is stimulus in an economy that doesn't need it and will raise prices across the board. It is true that there's an enormous amount of taxpayer money that will be handed out in the form of child care subsidies and health premium subsidies that will offset those price increases. But the underlying inflation will get worse. This is just a matter of using the taxpayer dollars to cover up the problem.
Using the taxpayer dollars to cover up the problem. Just that statement alone. What's wrong with that? Using taxpayer dollars to cover up the thievery from those who have price and power, and decided that even though we don't have shortages, to increase the prices on Americans. So what do we do to mitigate that? We tax that excess profit that they get, give it back to the American people to mitigate that increase in prices. As they increase in prices, we increase their taxes, we give it back to the American people so that they don't feel the price increases that are out there. Look, the thing that, I mean, what I just said was simplistic, and it isn't just that way that it works. There's some more complexities to it, but in the aggregate, that's how it works, right? But here's the deal. Think of what he just said. The economy is firing on all cylinders. 4% growth on average next year. This quarter, 7% growth. Crazy growth, okay? So you ask yourself the question, Okay, with that kind of growth, you get inflation. But where's that inflation coming from if the American wages have not gone up by 7% or it's not going up by the average of 4% per year in the aggregate? That means that the economy growing at 7%, but the average American citizen isn't seeing it. That expanded growth goes to the top only. And that is what we have to learn. And when he talks about the only thing we need to worry about is inflation. So what the Fed's going to take care of that. So they'll raise rates so that when they raise their rates, it'll mitigate inflation. True. But who bears the cost? They don't like inflation because borrowed money paid with inflated dollars means that you pay back a bit less than you borrowed, right? But of course, there's interest to mitigate that. But when they keep interest rates high and they keep that very calm economy, the same scenario continues and everybody at the top makes a killing. Americans, I beg of thee, we have to understand the economy and not believe the crap these people with suits and ties go and say, we don't need Build Back Better. In other words, to hell with giving child care, to hell with giving benefits, health care benefits, to hell with giving family leave. That doesn't matter. Because there's some inflation that we want to knock out. That doesn't matter. Where's the humanity? It does matter. We have a society to make things better for people. We don't have a society just to make things great for those who have capital. And we believe the things that they say as if when they're talking these issues, that somehow we have to keep them at maximal gain so that we will do fine. And if we, the middle class and the poor, don't continue to feel the pain, that somehow it'll get worse. No, it gets horrendous because everything goes to the top. Whenever you hear these people talking on TV, they're not speaking for you. They're not speaking for the average American citizen. They're speaking to keep a particular class funded, a particular class with the clout, a particular class making, and you being there to support them. It's the heights of being parasites. And we don't see it that way. We don't see that they're parasites. We think they've got money. They must be doing something right. All the money that they have is money raised on your back with your intellect, with your worth, and with all that you have provided. They're just controlling the capital. Let's learn it, people. Let's understand our worth. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.